hands no more, or I get dirt on my shoes. I don't mind climbing 8 more floors, 'cause these stairs are all heading to you. I don't wait for tomorrow's sunshine when I feel it today. But when it's cold in the dead of winter, remember that snow melts away. One more cold drink, one more roll, one more dance before the doors get closed. Please remember, enjoy the show. Let's get happy before we get old. We don't need plans or a fancy agenda. Well, let's just see where it goes. We got no care for the way people stare at the dust and the dirt on our clothes. Hey, my friend, we'll never say
Hey everybody, come on in to the Cajun Cooking Experience. This is Spuddy here, and tonight we got this awesome dish, green beans, snap beans, call them what you want. This dish goes back as far as 7,000 BC. So this is an old dish, started off as a wild growth plant. And you know, a lot of our food started off as wild growth. And then gradually, through plant change of genetics, farmers mixing one wild plant with the other, next thing you know, we have what we have today. If you want to trace mankind, if you want to trace how man has evolved, trace the food. You'll see it evolve from a wild plant, and you can see what man's doing. And by those evolutions, they can tell about when these plants started, okay? Hey, Mildred. So today we're going to smother down some green beans. Why? Everybody's picking them in their garden. They either have the bush beans, which they're picking, maybe not picking the pole beans yet. Those take a little longer. We'll talk about the difference between those two later. But today, I just wanted some good old green beans. Hey, Charmaine, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and work this seasoning so that we can go ahead and build us a little flavor. Remember, we're going to build this flavor up. We're just going to come up one layer at a time. Like we always do, we're going to bring these onions in. And the thing is, when you're cooking, especially the Cajun cooking, and to do it right, it's about taking your time and building these flavors. Like somebody said, they said in one of my cooking experiences, it's the layers of flavors that we're going to build. Now, green beans, something I don't eat enough. You know, we wait, this time of the year, they're picking them in their garden, so we kind of wait till we grow them. You get about, on the bush beans, you get maybe 3 pickings. First picking's good, second picking's really good, and then it starts dropping off. You're lucky if you get a 4th. Problem with bush beans, you're more prone to disease, more prone to insects than you are with the pole beans. The pole beans are a little bit more residual. I buy these at IQF frozen. If you look at them, they look the same. They snap the same, and they taste the same. So, and they pick them right out the field and quick freeze these. So it does make them a really fresh product, okay? Okay, we'll cook down these onions. And what I want to do too now is I want to throw my sausage and andouille in. And I want to smother this down. I've been having an envie for green beans for a little while now. I just didn't feel like cooking them, so I said, you know what? Because the way I cook them, it's going to take a little time. But if you go back to when they first started, cooking green beans, beginning of time, it would have been over open fire, maybe roasting them, or it would have been like boiling them. As time went by, and they came up with better cookware, pottery, metal pots, as you had these things being developed, then you could do more with these green beans. What we're doing tonight, we're going to smother them down. We're going to build our flavor and smother this down. That's something you can do you couldn't have done thousands of years ago. Another thing, you want a good dish with green beans, you take them, put them in a container, put a little olive oil on them, shake them up real good, season them up with your favorite seasoning. I always use salt and pepper, and season them up real good. Throw a little hot sauce on them if you want, and lay them on a sheet pan and bake them in the oven. I put them in about 325 in a convection oven, and I'll go about 10, 15 minutes at the most. and it gives it that little crisp. If you light a barbecue pit, these work good. We get to pick up that little smoke flavor. Something I could have done tonight is could have taken these green beans, laid them out on a sheet pan, and actually put them in my smoker. Not much heat, just put a little smoke to them and give them a whole different flavor. Something else. There's so many possibilities you can do with these beans. It's just a matter of your imagination. Hey, Crystal. Oh, yeah, the fresh green beans are hell yeah, they're good. And then, you know, what comes with the fresh green beans this time of the year? You got to have your new potatoes. The new potatoes are the fresh crop of potatoes. Especially you dig them a little early, you get the little small ones about this big around, and you get those new potatoes in there, and really good. I didn't have any new potatoes yet, but so I'm just using some Yukon Gold. And I didn't take the peelings off. When I'm cooking green beans, I like to leave those peelings on the potatoes. And that's why I get the Yukon Gold to go in here. It has a little thinner skin. The red ones, if you buy them in the store, you have to be real careful. Sometimes they get that thick skin, kind of grayish, not even red anymore, kind of brownish red, grayish. That means they're getting old and it gets a little thick. And those I don't like. I have to peel those. These are always good. I just like that thin layer of skin on them. And we're just going to keep on cooking this down. And of course, I'm going to throw my mushrooms in. Now, I could have used different kind of meats if I wanted. No, I'm using andouille sausage. Somebody asked me today, what about if you put chicken in here? If that's what you want to put, that's fine. What I would do is I'd get me some pieces of chicken where I can saute them in here, but you got to be careful. The thigh meat works real well. You can cook it a little harder, but you have to be careful it doesn't spread apart. Becky, let's see. Hello from North Dakota. Love garden green beans, but I can't plant yet for another month. Yep, they're a little cold, a little bit cold up there. And that's something, Becky, you just reminded me of something. Well, yeah, Sammy, you have any frozen smoked chicken quarters? I had some leg quarters in the freezer, Sammy. And that's something that goes real good. You see, if I wanted to bake some chicken with this or some smothered pork chops when I finish, two really good sides that go with these green beans. But, you know, Becky's talking about in North Dakota. So when it's, hey, Ray, green beans and smothered smoked sausage, you know it, man. So, you know, as time went on, green beans started in South America. Way back in South America, South and Central America. As the European settlers came over, of course, they brought some back to Europe. Now they're spreading all over Europe. They're actually spreading in different parts of Europe. But guess what? When the Europeans come back here in the 1600s and they start settling along the East Coast, they bring those seeds back. And they introduce them back to North America. Becky, this is what you would get with seeds that where y'all plant in North Dakota. Why green beans work so good? They adapt to almost any soil. And this is what the beauty of them is. I'm going to add my little stock in here. So what I've done to make my stock, hey, Alan, love smothered green beans or little potatoes and ham. Oh, hell yeah. And the andouille is acting like my ham. So this is what's making it good. But let's say in the old days, you would have had where they make that had a smoked ham or a ham, a fresh ham, on a Sunday dinner table. Well, you could have taken that bone from them green beans or leftover ham and then actually went in here and put it in here for your green beans. So if you have a good ham, that will work. The andouille will work. Anything has a little smoke flavor is going to work well in here. Becky, they grow awesome up here when I can plant them. Yep, they do adapt real well. And I was reading where there was a video on YouTube today that was talking about green bean culture in Oregon. So, you know, it's grown all over the United States. And that comes from South America just working its way up and bringing just bringing those green beans all over the world. As the Europeans opened up trade routes, Asia, Africa, all the different, Portugal and all, as the trade routes got larger, then they spread green beans all over the world in these trade routes. So it's a plant that they can bring with them, grow anywhere, and it was so versatile, and it's good nutrition. and this is what they loved about it. And it's probably one of the most important popular foods in the culinary development over the thousands of years, because there's so many things. You think about, you go to a restaurant and they're serving green beans. There's so many different ways for them to serve them. Not like we used to get in school, just dump them out the can and put them in your plate. I heard they're doing better. I'm just talking about my experience in school. Now, I'm going to go ahead and bring my bell peppers in. Now, I like to bring these different colors in because I can bring more bell peppers. If you bring just the green in, they're going to have that little bite to them, and it may overpower your food. But bringing all these different colors, you get a little sweeter flavor from these bell peppers, and that's what I like. Oh, yeah. Let's go switch down into that pot and take a look. You can see right here, and you can see a little gravy starting to build. This is that little brown gravy that I'm building in here. And that's going to be your flavor. All right? This is going to be your flavor that you're developing. Now, some people like pole beans. Some people like bush beans. What's the difference? Pole beans, of course, you have to go find you some poles. Or I have a friend of mine, what he did, he got that cow panels, and he had them where he put them in the ground and let them grow up the cow panels, and then he made a trellis where he can walk under and the beans would hang. He could plant the pole beans that way, and the pole beans are going to last longer. And to me, I like the pole beans better. It's a better tasting crop. It's a personal preference on that. But the pole beans are a little bit more work. If you take the bush beans, basically plant them. Once they come up, they make a bush. You get your beans. The only thing is, you're going to be bending down, kind of back breaking. My little celery in here. Ooh, my fresh chopped garlic coming next. So everybody has their own one that they like the best. Hey, Deanne. Deanne, did you like my comment on Facebook? I tell you, that good juice. So we're just gonna keep on bringing this stock in, and this stock right here. This stock is, I took some carrots. All right, Harvey, what's up, brother? Yeah, Darren, this is some good stuff, man. I took some carrots and some celery and some onion and the stems of the parsley, and I boiled them in here. So it made me a real good stock, more like a broth, more like a bouillon. And I remember when we did the courtbouillon, and I made the bouillon juice like this. I made that bouillon and gave that dish when I was cooking it. I just picked it up, just kicked it up 3 or 4 notches. So this is a good stock. And of course, I had some chicken necks in here to give it that chicken stock also. Okay, now we just go keep on working this. Here's my garlic. I'm waiting a little later to bring it in. I don't want to burn it, but it's going to be time now. Some fresh chopped garlic. Ooh, love that smell. And to me, you can't have enough garlic in here. You got to be careful. Not everybody likes it. And one of the things we're going to do, hopefully next week, and I've been picking up tour guide jobs, so I never know if I'm going to be on until the day that we actually do it. But the next thing I want to do is take all these different color bell peppers. We're going to make some stuffed bell peppers with the red, the yellow, the orange, and the green. We're going to make bell peppers. But I've ground some meat, some fresh pork and fresh beef, and I put heavy garlic in it, and I put heavy pepper in it. So it's really spicy. And we're going to work that. We're going to smother that down to build these bell peppers. I definitely want to do that, and that's coming soon. Okay, as you can see in that pot, if you look down in here, you can see the flavor. This gravy starting to build down here. See it right here? This is your flavor. You've got all these colors in here. And there's the green beans waiting, the star of the show waiting to come in. And, okay, we're just going to work this in, keep smothering this, and I'm just about ready to bring my green beans in. And this right here, if you take your time and smother the seasoning down like this, this is going to make the difference in the flavor of your green beans. I could have taken, smothered the onions a little bit, just kind of wet them a little bit, and then come in with the green beans and everything else and just let them cook down. It's going to be good, but this is going to step it up. I call it green. This is like green beans on steroids. Here we go. And what this also doing is helping my sausage and andouille, helping to get tender. But it's taking all the flavors out that sausage and andouille and bringing it into this dish. Whereas if you just came in with the green beans and just put it in here, you're not going to get that full flavor of that sausage and andouille. But when you sit there and you saute it, it brings a whole different flavor to the ball game. Okay. Take another peek in that pot. Okay, you see the gravy building? You can see it really good now. And that's what I mean by building that flavor. Now, let's take a break. Cheers. And a little bit for the green beans. Not too much. I don't want to spoil them green beans. Okay, now, I'm going to bring in a little bit extra liquid now, because I'm getting ready to bring those green beans in. These won't take long to cook. If they're fresh, they shouldn't take long. Now, some people, all right, Hollywood, watch it from the food show. Some people call them snap beans. Some people call them, they got the snap beans, and there's another name for them. I'm drawing a blank right now. But the thing is, you can snap them, or they call them string beans. In the day before they actually bred this out of it, there was a string right here. And you would have to peel that string off because it was a real tough. It was almost like it was just like it was almost like a piece of rope. It was tough. And so you'd have to peel that off. They've actually bred that out of it, so you don't see that much anymore. But a lot of people still call them string beans. Either one, they're the same thing. Okay. And I'm going to bring a little hot sauce before I bring the green beans in. Might as well add some flavor in here. I'm going to bring some more shallots in right now, too. Okay, I'm going to kick this up. Let's start bringing them green beans in. Oh. I'm going to have this pot full. Because what I'm going to do is, because I'm going to put some of this up, I'm going to put this in containers while I have green beans for a few months. I'm going to push this pot to the limit. All right, Baron, what's up, my brother? Sending you a big hello from Houston town. All right, Baron, good to hear from you. Mel, I love fresh green beans with potatoes. Oh, hell yeah. Got them new potatoes like they call them. Now, remember my papa growing potatoes, and, you know, the Board of Health right now, you got to wash them, and you go through these big inspections and make sure they're all clean. They would dig them up, no washing, just kind of shake the dirt off, and then put the potatoes on a piece of tin and slide them under the house where it was cool. And that's when you wanted potatoes, you slid the tin out. Every now and then you had a little rat or mouse that ate his share too. Just cut that off. He didn't throw it away. Hollywood will know how his cousin is. Hollywood, you heard that? All right. Now we just start smothering this down. Now there's different kinds of green beans, okay? You could have like these are the whole green beans, a little thin. You could have some that's a little thicker. They would grade them number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4. And they would have the French style where they actually would take the bigger ones and slice them. I like them all. This is the one I like the best because you see it's not really big around. And I'm going to zoom in on it. It's not really big around, so it has some tenderness to it. What you say, Roland? Now remember, with the pole beans, one of the things that the mother crop, we had the Native Americans, what did they do? They grew the corn. Corn was to live on. That was survival. Corn was for cattle. Corn was for them. You know, corn was their livelihood. They had the corn. They took the pole beans and grew it up the corn. So that pole bean actually made nitrogen in the ground. It could be peas growing up. It could be pole beans growing up. But that actually brought nitrogen in the ground. And then you had your squash, of course, to give cover to the ground, keep moisture in, especially when it had those droughts, and also keep the grass down because you didn't want to be out there trying to kill grass all the time. Okay. And this is really starting to cook down now. Now, right now, if I was back in my kitchen, hey, Deborah said she loved them green beans. Hollywood, pork chops would go great with this. Some good smothered pork chops would go fantastic with this. I didn't have room, so I had so much stuff up here, but that actually was one of my favorite side dishes to cook with these green beans. Now, a lot of people will take these green beans and cook them. They'll use them as a side. They'll actually use them as their main dish and serve them over rice. Something I like to do, I'll take like a spaghetti squash and mix that in, serve them over spaghetti squash. Or believe it or not, I'll take cauliflower and boil it. And I'm not a big cauliflower fan unless it's mixed with something. And I'll smash that cauliflower up. And then I'll go ahead and use that as my rice. Tastes real good. And it covers the taste of the cauliflower because I'm not crazy about that taste. But when I eat it with something, it's good. Okay. See, I had to bring my paddle out. Now, when you're going to put a pot full of green beans, look like you got some fresh potatoes too. Roland, they're not fresh. That's some Yukon Gold potatoes. And like I was saying earlier, I like to use those because they have that Yukon Gold has that thin skin. I'm really turned on to these potatoes because the red potatoes, unless I can get them where they have a thin skin on them, because I like the peelings of my potatoes. Only because I hate peeling potatoes. So I like to be able to eat the peelings. But if they have that, you get those red potatoes, they're kind of old, they got that dark, thick skin. I don't like fooling with that. What's up, Marshall? Okay, we're going to keep working this down. You think about, you go back to the 1200s, 1300s, 1400s, when the Europeans started coming over looking for new lands and all, and they landed in South America, Central America, they were seeing crops like this being grown by the indigenous people. So indigenous people were growing these, and they would go there and not only get the seeds to bring it back or get the crop to bring it back, they also are being taught how to grow it. And then when they got back to Europe, this is how they brought potatoes, tomatoes, these green beans, and so many other vegetables, because mainly there were grains. There were grains over there. And if you go back and read in history, like biblical history and all, they're talking about the grains, storing up grains in the storehouses at harvest time. What's up, Gary? Smoked ham hocks. Gary, I'm glad you brought that up. So this is so many things you could put in here. Smoked ham hocks is one of them. Another thing you could put in here, smoked neck bone. Awesome in here. Smoked turkey necks. But if you're going to use smoked turkey necks, you're going to have to boil them on the side, but use the water that you boil them in as your stock. I almost put them in here tonight, but I'm keeping it pretty simple. But smoked turkey necks, if I'm going to tell you something else, you're going to laugh at me, pigtails work good in here. Pigtails or smoked pigtails, a combination of both of them. Awesome in here. So all those trashy parts that people threw away years ago, work really well in here, and today everybody's caught on to that. That's why this stuff is so expensive. When people, you couldn't even give it away 30 years ago when I bought this business, and now the price is quadrupled. Turkey necks used to cost me 10 to 15 cents a pound. Today they're $1.25 a pound raw. Oh, thank you, Becky. Okay. And you can see them they're starting to really get tender. Let's take a peek in that pot. And we're just working them down. We're not far from bringing in our potatoes. Once they get about halfway, I'm going to bring the potatoes in. And this is the part that's always tricky, is when to bring those potatoes in. Because if you bring it in too soon, then your potatoes will fall apart. If you bring it in, too late, then you have hard potato. But if you bring it in late, you have to keep cooking your green beans so these potatoes are soft. And what will happen, the green beans may go further than you want. Another thing is, how far do you cook them? It's how far you like them. I like mine well cooked. But I'll eat them anyway. If I go to your house and you cook them less than what I cook them, I'm still okay with that. It's going to be good. Now, one of the things people have to realize too is if you're going to cook green beans, okay, if you want to take them out the can, you can. To me, you're losing some value. It's easy. It's just as easy to buy those frozen green beans. And another thing is, don't overthink the seasoning. Keep it simple. Some good smoked meats. Like Gary said a while ago, man, some good ham hocks in here, smoked ham hocks. And what you may have to do is boil those ham hocks on the side first and let them soften up a little bit. They do take long to cook. And then put them in here, but keep that liquor from them ham hocks. You're going to want to use that to come in here. Anything you boil, like parboil to put in these green beans, don't throw away that juice. Don't throw away that stock. You want that flavor in here. Oh, yeah. And it helps to have this paddle when you cook in a big pot. That's my paddle for my baby jambalayas. Okay, I'm going to start bringing a little seasoning in while this is cooking. Watch your pepper. Green beans take pepper pretty good, okay? So watch your pepper. If you like it, because you'll overheat it. You'll get it spicy really quick. Now, got to show the cane farmers a little loving. Always got to give them a little loving. And I'm going to bring a little salt in. Now, I have to be careful with the salt. Thank you, Roland. Man, this is good for a pot of beans. You're cooking 30 pounds of beans at a time. You stick that in there. This works really well. And it works great for the small pots of jambalaya. Be careful with the salt because my andouille sausage, you have to know how much seasoning your sausage and andouille has. If mine has a lot, so you have to be careful. It's easier to put a little bit and come back and add some later. Next hitch when I come, I gotta eat and chit chat. You got it, Hollywood. Bruce, my mom. What's up, Bruce? What's happening, brother? Watching from San Francisco. Watching from the Bay. You over there in San Francisco at the Bay, and I'm about 5 miles away from the Bay called Chack Bay. So we're both near the Bay. We're just gonna keep on working this. I hope y'all weather's good as it is over here, Bruce. This weather's been awesome for us. A little chilly in the morning, but great in the evening. And you can see as they start cooking, they'll start changing color. That bright green is gonna start getting a little dull on us, okay? All right. It's starting to soften up. The reason I taste it like that, when it starts getting a little soft, I'm gonna bring these potatoes in. Now, another reason why people will grow the pole beans, they're more disease resistant. I found one time I grew them, and it was just a pain to go cut poles at a time. You had to go cut some poles and make your trellis and all. But it was a pain because it was a lot more work. But I found they last longer, and I did think that they taste better. But like I said, the bush beans, easier to grow. Once you get them up, and if you can miss that frost, you can be eating pretty quick. Okay. Now, another thing, if you want to put it in here, you have your ham hocks. If you have an old ham, a leftover ham, you can put in here. If you want to put some pigtails in it, all that'll go really well in here. Turkey necks, smoked neck bone, any or all of those, anything you want. Somebody asked me if you could put chicken. Absolutely. If you want to throw a little chicken in here, this is your dish. Make it the way you want. All that's going to just pick up the flavor. I wouldn't hesitate right now with the sausage and andouille to throw some chicken in here. And smoked chicken, you have to be careful because I have a good bit of smoke in here right now. So you have to be careful with the smoked chicken because it does take a strong smoke flavor. Okay. Now we just let this sucker cook. Okay, go peek in that pot now. Okay, and you can see the juice boiling there. I think I missed it. Is that contender beans? Roland, these are bought frozen from the food vendor, so I'm not really sure what kind these are. But Contender is one of the most popular brands that they grow out here. That's the rest of my stock. And they kind of look like it. They have that same look like the Contender beans would have. This is it resembles it a lot. One thing I found, when you get them IQF frozen in the bag, they're going to have just as good of a taste than if you pick them fresh. The reason being is, when you pick some beans, if you take those beans and put them in your refrigerator, your ice box, whatever, and you leave them there a couple of days before you come back to them, it's already losing flavor. So if you're going to pick them where you're going to cook them the same day, because the reason why they have such good flavor is they come out the field, and when they get into that factory, they're instantly frozen. So there's only hours between picking and freezing them. And this is the advantage of having these. It's nothing like growing your own, but you have seeds, you only have green beans a little short period out here. Why not go ahead and buy you some a couple times a year, and you still have this dish? You don't have to wait for the garden. Now, another thing, if you're going to go ahead, I like to do is keep this dish all natural. You have to undo in sausage. You have to be careful with your sausage. If you're going to go buy a sausage that has a lot of ingredients in it, you have to be really careful. You're going to have artificial ingredients, we have no idea what that really is. We have natural flavors, which is a chemical formula mixed with water that tastes like some natural flavor. And then we're going to have dextrose and sugars and names this long that I can't pronounce in those sausages. Try, if you can make your own, do it. If not, go to somebody that makes their own, that that they're using it, making it really clean and really simple. The sausage and andouille. A lot of the andouille, once we get away from here, we get away from this little German coast, we're very spoiled. Once you get away from here, it's just ground meat. It's sausage. They put it in a small casing like sausage, and they over-season it, putting a lot of pepper, some smoked paprika, and they're calling it Cajun andouille. And they put a lot of pepper. Now, one of the things, we have these tour boats coming to Vashon now, an American Cruise Line. And I'll jump on the bus and do tours from the cruise, from the dock to Oak Alley. And I get to visit with these people all the time when they're on Oak Alley. So it's about a 4.5 hour window. And they're very intrigued about our food and about our cultures. Of course, the first thing they're going to hear is they're going to hear me talking, and the accent just takes them off. You just love it. But the way we live, the sugar cane, the way that sugar cane, you can make 3-4 crops before you actually chop it under. Just amazes them. And the foods that we eat. When I get on the bus coming back to the boat, I'll talk about our foods and our food culture, and they love it. We take a lot for granted, but we have some of the best, to me, the best food culture in the world. If you do it right. If you don't get lost and hooked up in the fake ingredients and the commercialization of it, because I'm going to tell you, when I had the restaurant, it wasn't always the best cooking I could provide. It had to be the most profitable cooking I could provide. Because you had to pay the bills. And you had to provide something, the price point that people could pay for. But it was still home cooking. Okay, let's check it out. Almost there. These beans have a good sweet taste to them, so I know they're going to be good. Okay, bring that one a little closer. Take a look in the pot now. You see my gravy over here. This is what, you see that gravy's got a little brown color? This is the work we've done before even bringing the green beans in. It's all about building those flavors. Now, you know, I mentioned earlier, we can follow food. Like these green beans started in South America. And if you follow as a wild plant, and then through the mixing of different wild plants, where you're actually mixing the genetics to bring a different variety, and you keep doing that over thousands of years, you get to what we have now. But from South America, you travel over to Europe. From Europe, it comes back to from the northern United States. These beans have traveled all over the world. So following that history, you can kind of see what mankind has done over that year based on the food they were eating, the foods they were growing, and how they're cooking it. Hello, Stephanie. How you doing? Stephanie dialing in from Hester, Louisiana. Now, I'm going to go ahead and bring my potatoes in. These are really starting to get soft. And I can look at them and tell. And I can also taste them and tell. Ooh. Ooh. Oh, yeah, they're starting to get some flavor now. Now, I can taste right now. I'm going to need a little more salt. There it is. A little shot of black pepper. And a little red pepper. Because I want a little piquant to them. I have to be careful because I might have some grandkids eating this. And I don't want to spice it up too much. Hey, Melissa. Everything's good, man. Mr. Green would be proud of you sneaking in the history of our food dishes. Thank you, Steph. Yes, he would. If he was still living, I'd bring him on the show. With his cup of coffee. You know, the history of food, because of studying the history of the dishes I cook, it made me a better tour guide, because when you're studying the history of food, what I just said, it gives you the history of how we developed as human beings. That history, when you look it up, of different dishes, you also get the history of what's going on, a snapshot of what's going on that time in the world. And I've learned more looking up what, green beans, let's say in 1800, 1750 or whatever. And then you start looking around the different newspaper articles and you figure out what's going on in the world. And that's what I enjoy about researching history. Okay. Ooh. Now, take a peek in that pot. Right here, you see the seeds are starting to break out. Okay, this really tells you these green beans are getting tender. You're starting to see the seeds break out of the pot. Okay, these green beans are starting to get tender. This is where you're going to have to really be careful. Melissa, trying to recover bad surgery. Oh, one day at a time, Melissa. 1 hour at a time. Good luck to you. We'll be praying for you. Okay. Oh, I was going to try that piece of salad. How about that one? Okay. Now they're really starting to wilt. They're starting to kind of break up. So these green beans are getting close. Yeah, it's time to start tasting now. And like all the other dishes, this is going to get better. Oh, you're welcome, Melissa. Very unique flavor. Now, Got to be careful not to put too much salt in here. Because remember, as it cools, the salt is gonna be, it'll be a little bit salty tomorrow. Your flavor is gonna be better tomorrow, so it's better to back off. If you want to add a little bit when you're eating it, that's fine. Or make your rice a little salty if you're gonna serve it over rice. But you don't want to make this salty. because you can't take it back. Okay. Let's bring a little bit more stock in. Now, I like my beans. You know, I'm going to sit here and I'm going to bring, it's going to be have a little gravy in it. When I store them tonight, I want those juices in that container because as it cools, I want these beans sucking up these juices. I don't want to cook all this stock out of here. And some people will make that mistake and they'll cook the stock out, and what you wind up with is the next day you have some dry beans. Oh yeah, you can see that little gravy down there? Ooh, looking good. And that bouillon that I made for stock, it's awesome. How many people can you feed off that pot? So Hollywood, depending on what you're doing with them, if I'm feeding this as a meal, you probably could feed 20 people. If you're doing it as a little side dish, and what I mean by side dish, everybody would get a little dish like this, then you probably could go 40 people, at least, maybe 50 out of this pot. So depending on what you're doing with them, that is a good question. So it just depends how you're eating it. A lot of people, I get phone calls all the time, and they'll tell me, I'm having 50 people over. I'm cooking for 50 people. How many pounds of rice I need for a jambalaya or whatever it is? And the first question I have to ask, what size bowl you're serving in? Second thing is what other foods you have. Two things you have to consider, because the more protein you have with other dishes, the less of this that you need. So people make the mistake is, like I always figure 7 servings a pound of jambalaya. When on jambalaya, 7 servings per pound of rice. That's if that's the only meal. That's the only thing in that meal. Jambalaya, white beans, a little coleslaw, and bread. That would be it. Now, if you bring in jambalaya is going to be a side and you're going to have other dishes, then you can double that and get 10 to anywhere from 12 to 14 servings a pound. Weddings, in a wedding, you can get 20 servings per pound because you're going to be serving a little serving because people are tasting, they're not feasting. All things to keep in mind when you're cooking amount of food for a party. And believe me, when you're catering and you're talking about when you're catering, waste costs you. If I'm going to quote you and for 50 people and I cook for 50 people, but I come back with half of it, then I've really overdone it and it's taking money out of my pocket and it's cost you more than you needed. So it works both ways. And in the past, I've had people come in and say, I need a jambalaya for 50 people. And I found out that they're serving small servings, especially at funerals. The repast after small servings. And I say, let's back that off to cook for 30 instead of 50. I'm going to save you some money and you won't have a lot of leftover. And it works out good. Oh, Don, good cooking right there. That's right, brother. I have to agree with you. If you notice my seasoning. Oh, Rick, what's up, Rick? How you doing, man? How's everything in Indiana over there? Rick and them came over here and did the Cajun cooking experience. I think it was 80 people, Rick, that came over here with the scouts. And awesome bunch. Oh, Mark, what's up, man? Rick, if I'd have known you was on, I'd have worn my shirt. I still have it. And when we did, you imagine you have 80 scouts in here, and they're coming over here and they're traveling. Awesome trip because they went to New Orleans. They came here for the Cajun cooking experience. Most behaved group I've ever had. It was unbelievable. Rick and them did a good job. It was a good group of people. And just good people to work with. That little soldier ran away. Okay. Let's try this again. And I'm checking the potatoes. So my green beans are going to be ready soon as these potatoes are ready. I'm going to be good. This is perfect. I still have a slight crunch in these potatoes. Bad about green beans, once I start eating, I can't stop. Put the rest of the shallots in. We're going to throw this parsley in. Now, parsley is an option. I'm throwing it in because I cut the stems off to put in my stock. So I'll just soon take the parsley and throw it in, and it's going to add another layer of flavor in here, okay? I'm not using it for garnish. I'm actually using the parsley to just go ahead and let it cook in. Okay, let's see. All right, we're about 50% on the potatoes. Well, I'm trying to get it up. Okay. Let's check it out. Yep, potatoes about halfway there. All right, Lamont. Talked to Lamont today. He called me from Intuit, QuickBooks, whatever, and we had a good conversation. He said he was going to be on. I hope you're learning something, brother. Oh. Woo. I'll tell you what, these Yukon Gold potatoes I really like. I like it because they have that thin skin and they just have a unique flavor. They're my new go-to potato rather than the red ones. Except for the new potatoes. That's different. All red potatoes we grow around here, that's the best. It's a matter of opinion. Okay. Now you can see, let's take a peek in that pot. And you can see these green beans. You see how they're really laying down now? They're really just starting to lay down. And actually some of them are starting to split, kind of looking like French style beans. Okay, so this is where, as soon as potatoes are ready, I'll have this. And by the time the potatoes are ready, all that crunch will be out of those green beans. I'm going to tell you one thing. These green beans are slamming. Now, one good thing about buying them frozen, you can get the different kinds. Some of them, I'll buy them a little thicker. They'll be about this long, and they'll be bigger around. Maybe like your little finger, maybe like your ring finger. They'll be a little thicker. Takes a little longer to cook them. They have a different flavor. The French style, I'm not really crazy about. They're good. They just, to me, they cook too fast. But it's a good bean. It's a good bean, the French style, I find, if you want to serve them as a side dish. If you want to put them and bake them in the oven, I would get the bigger ones. These here, I find they're just perfect for what I'm doing here, smothering them down. This is bean étouffée. Or they're going to say in French, haricot vert. Or it's spelled haricots verts, but haricot vert. Just like you have gumbo vert, haricot vert. And that would be bean green. Vert mean green. Hey, Laurie. Thank you, Laurie. Okay. Yep, almost done. And you see I have a lot of liquid left in these beans. This is what I like, because when I'm going to pick them up, like I said, these beans are going to suck up this liquid. And when I go to warm them up, I can always get some of these juices on the plate, especially when you go have it with rice. it'll go really good. These, with this liquid, it'll go really, really good with rice. Now, if I was going to eat mine with rice, I'd use brown rice, only because it's healthier. A lot of people don't like the brown rice, but I find if you serve them with something, you have to cook it a little longer. But I find if you serve it with beans over rice, or you put the snap beans over rice, black beans, red beans, white beans, you kind of cover up the flavor that people don't like. I love the flavor because it has that little nutty flavor with the brown rice. And I like the crunch of that fiber that's, that hull that's still on there. Now let's put a little bit of hot sauce in here. Got to have a little Crystal in your life. Right, Crystal? Okay. Let's check these potatoes. Yep. Yes. So, you see the potatoes are starting to fall apart now. See, I can cut them. There's still a little bite to them. Hey, Cindy. Thank you, Cindy. It's great to be here. Okay, let's get one more final taste. Did you give Sugar Cane Farmer some love? Yeah, Mark, but since you missed it, I'm going to love them a little bit more. You can always give the Sugar Cane Farmers as much love as you want. Oh. This with some smothered pork chops. Green beans as a side dish with some smothered pork chops and some red beans or black beans or white beans over rice. What a meal. And that, got a little piquant to it. You can taste it at the end. That little dash of hot sauce I gave it just now was perfect. And that, my friend, I'm turning the fire off and let it set now. And let's take a peek in that pot. And there you see it. And in case y'all thought I was going to miss it tonight, we got to give it the French bread taste. And while I let it there, I let this thing cook all the way so this French bread can pick up more flavor. Ooh. Oh, hell yeah. Now, if you had a smothered pork chop to go with this French bread, it'd be awesome. So here it is. Green beans, served over rice, served as a side dish. Smash in some cauliflower if you really want to keep it healthy. And because if you're like me, I don't really care for the taste of cauliflower. But when I ball it, smash it up, people go out there and buy cauliflower rice. Why? Get it softened up where you can smash it up, serve this over it. It makes cauliflower actually taste good. That's the best way I can say it. So hopefully next week, if I'm not on being tour guide, I'll be back next Wednesday. And I'm thinking stuffed bell peppers. If I can get the different color bell peppers, that's what I want to do. I think and look, we got the green beans. Those stuffed bell peppers would also be a great side dish with those green beans. Green beans with the stuffed bell peppers. Some of them you can make them whole. You get the whole bell pepper, or you can make the little half bell peppers. Any way you like it. So this is the way I look at it. What do you do? Half or whole? Which one do you prefer? How many people coming? How much do I like you? If I really like you, I'll give you a whole one, stuff it, because there's going to be some big bell peppers. But if I really don't like you, I'm going to give you half. I'm going to make you feel good now. But, I'm not going to give you that whole one because that's a shame. So, y'all, thank y'all for tuning in tonight. Hope to see y'all next week. And half. Laura said half. I'm going to give you a whole one, Laura. Thank y'all for tuning in tonight. We're going to see y'all next week, hopefully with some stuffed bell peppers. That's what I'm in the mood for, and it's gonna go great with these green beans. Thank y'all. Love y'all. God bless y'all. We're gonna see y'all next week.